1940s and 50s, World War II and the Cold War led many Americans to fear and suspect that communism was taking over. Senator Joseph McCarthy was one of those Americans, and he became famous for his work in identifying the communists in the U.S. One person accused was Arthur Miller, a famous playwright. As a result of these events, Arthur Miller was inspired to write The Crucible, which was set in 1600 Salem, Massachusetts, because he equated the accusations of communism in the 1950s with the accusations of witchcraft in the 1600s. The Crucible was meant to be a powerful and timeless depiction of how intolerance and hysteria can intersect and tear a community apart. The following are examples of the ways Miller combined the anti-communism of the 1950s with the events of the Salem witch trials. Example number 1, paranoia. In 1692, life was ruled by Christianity for the people of Salem. They were permitted to do nothing but work and pray. Dancing, playing games, and even celebrating Christmas were forbidden, but the most forbidden was witchcraft. The Bible warns Christians of witchcraft, which is a crime punishable by hanging. So when the town's reverend catches several teenage girls dancing in the woods at night, his first thought is witchcraft, and paranoia is about to ensue. The 1950s equivalent to this was the communism that was growing in Europe and Asia, and when it became more violent, people in the US began to fear the Communist Party in America, even though it was mostly formed because it helped create labor unions. Soon, a long list of Americans were accused of being communists, and they feared that if there were any communists in the government, the US would turn into a communist country like those in Europe and Asia, and anti-communism paranoia is about to rule society. Example number 2, ringleader. The Crucible's antagonist, Abigail, is the 17-year-old leader of the group of girls that were caught dancing in the woods. The reverend suspicion prompts Abigail to begin accusing others of witchcraft so that no one accuses her. People quickly realized that anyone accused of witchcraft was automatically assumed to be guilty, even without real proof. So everyone felt that they had to accuse others to save themselves from being accused. But once accused, the only options were to lie and confess to witchcraft or hang.
Not I! It wasn't me, I swear it!
Die, no!
Did you not? Get out! She lies! She sends a spirit into me in church!
Abigail's role in the 1950s was now filled by Joseph McCarthy, a World War II veteran and a senator. Because of his time in the war and his new position in government, McCarthy wanted to prevent communism from spreading in the US. In 1950, McCarthy made a famous speech in which he accused a long list of Americans of being communists. His accusations sparked an anti-communism frenzy in America, and the House Un-American Activities Committee, also known as HUAC, became involved. Those that were accused of being communists had two options: give up names of other communists or be fined and imprisoned.
About 35 names listed. This is pretty serious. Have we had anything as serious as this so far?
Well, yes, I think we've got something much more serious right now. Communist infiltration of the CIA.
Example number 3, increased hostility. An accusation of witchcraft guaranteed persecution, so the townspeople started to use this as a means to get back at those they had conflicts with. Before the paranoia ensued, Abigail had an affair with John Proctor, a 30-year-old farmer. When John's wife found out, he ended the affair, which angered Abigail. She was determined to get rid of John's wife so that she could be with John, and accusing John's wife of witchcraft was the perfect way to do it. This is just one example of how vengeance prolonged the Salem witch trials.
Go on for your wife. Who charged him? For Abigail Williams' charge. For what crime? And what proof?
Fast forward to the 1950s. Aside from McCarthy's list of accusations, HUAC also began to investigate communism in the movie industry. The first group of film professionals that were subpoenaed would not cooperate with the investigation, and they became known as the Hollywood 10. But one person that was investigated in particular was Arthur Miller. Miller would not give names of any communists, so he was charged with contempt of Congress, fined $500, given 30 days in prison, was blacklisted, and denied a passport. However, all of this was later overturned. Arthur Miller's experience with the anti-communism paranoia of the 1950s made it clear that once accused, there is only a small chance of being found innocent because of the irrational reasoning of the courts and of the people. Miller saw the incredible connection between the McCarthyism era and the Salem witch trials, which was his inspiration for writing The Crucible. The Crucible is still known as a political allegory that was meant to make a statement about injustice and destruction.